The NHL is expanding again? What's on, guys? Jay Hoyd back with you. Today, welcome back to NHL 24. We are back on Hockey Ultimate Team, and we got some good gameplay for you in the background. As today, I think it was a few days ago now, but I actually saw something on one of those random, suggested for you things over on Facebook, actually, which is something I'm not usually on too often. And I happened to look at it, and I'm like, wait a second, I saw a post similar to this, and I wanted to bring it to the channel and kind of talk about it. So there's two posts here, one officially from the NHL, one from some random hockey page over on Facebook. But they said, and you can see on your screen, breaking, the Smith Entertainment Group, who currently owns the NBA Utah Jazz, have submitted a formal request to the NHL to initiate an expansion process to bring a team to Salt Lake City. The release filed by billionaire Ryan Smith cites that the city has an immediate ability to bring a team to the market, with the current Delta Center as an interim home before a new rink for the 2034 Olympics that are expected to be built in Salt Lake City. So, okay, that's a good message, right? Let's read the other one first, then we'll go on with what we kind of think about this whole thing. And it says the NHL statement on I'm guessing this means the Smith Entertainment Group. And they said the NHL appreciates the interest expressed by the Smith Entertainment Group to bring hockey to Utah. During the conversations over the course of the past 2 years, we have been impressed by Ryan and Ashley Smith's commitment to their community and their passion and vision for Utah. Not only as a hockey market, but as a preeminent sports and entertainment destination, Utah is a promising market, and we look forward to continuing our discussions. Now, here's the thing, right? And I'll say this, right? The NHL having 32 teams is perfect. Absolutely perfect. The way that hockey works, having 16 teams in the playoffs, having 8 from each conference, it all makes sense. Half the league's in, half the league's out. Perfect. Right? You have all your, obviously with Seattle and then Vegas, or I guess Vegas then Seattle, those two teams being brought in balances everything out perfectly, right? We adjusted, well, not we, but the NHL adjusted some of the divisions to make everything work, right? Arizona got moved into the end of the Central instead of the Pacific, something like that. So, divisions got realigned a little bit, and it just kind of makes sense. Now, don't get me wrong. Would I love to see a different franchise in the NHL? Yeah, of course. Anything new is great. But then the thing is, if we do expand to 33 teams, which it just sounds weird to say, then it makes everything completely whack. And it just creates, it's the same thing as it was before Vegas, where it was 31 teams. And then it's like, okay, if Seattle is almost a guarantee, and it's going to get to that 32 mark, 32 should be that max number, right? If you go above that, then you almost have to go up to 36. That way it's all even. But being that way, I just don't see why the NHL would do this to throw off the balance of the league. Because then you have another team in the West. Because when we come over here to the map of the NHL right now, if we kind of look over here, can you guys see my cursor? I think you can. So right over here above the Vegas Golden Knights, right here is going to be Salt Lake City, which is okay, it expands to a state that does not have a team. But here's the thing, and again, so they'd be in the Western Conference. They would probably be in, you could kind of almost take a pick of which division, because if we're having Arizona, if we're kind of drawing a line from the bottom here, kind of at Baja California, and just draw a line up, right, the Oilers, the Flames, the Canucks, the Kraken, the Sharks, LA Kings, Ducks, and Vegas, right? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? There's your 8 teams in the Pacific. Then you're going to have Arizona, Colorado, and then in this case it'd be Salt Lake City, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Chicago, St. Louis, and Nashville, all in the Central Division. And did I even say Dallas? I don't even know if I did. But then you have all these teams in the Central, and it's just like, oh my goodness. And then, of course, we have all of the teams in the East that are all over here and separated however they are. But it would be cool. But also, there's a team that is playing in like a college arena right now that is an absolute failure of a franchise in the Arizona Coyotes. Right? They're right here. Now, they're trying to get things figured out. I think they get sold or they're building a new arena or something like that. If we're not going to do that, then do any of the teams from the East want to relocate? I mean, if anyone's looking for a relocation, maybe that's the move. You kind of go over there, you kind of trade them with a Chicago or a Nashville, send them to the Eastern Conference, and you kind of do a little switcheroo. But at the same time, I don't think this is a good idea. So not only does it throw everything off balance, but then you're at 33 teams, and then you'd almost have to not be done, whether you want to go to 34, because you kind of have to have an even number, so you're going to have the same amount of teams in each conference. And then you have to figure out a way where it's like, okay, if we're sticking with 16 teams in the playoffs, so that way 8 teams from each conference, then if we're sticking, it would just create a huge ripple effect where I don't feel like it would be worth it. Now, obviously, like I said, it would create more jobs. It'd hopefully kind of balance out the league a little bit and, kind of balance out some of the superstars, maybe. But also, there's always going to be those teams that spend money on the superstars, that develop well, that, get their star players in, lock them down for years on end. And then there's always going to be those guys. But with an expansion franchise, if they were to do that, I would much rather see a team relocate. And what team would that be? Like I said, there was kind of a couple teams that in mind. One being Arizona, being the pretty clear-cut option, if you will. The other one maybe like the Islanders, but then also like didn't they just build a new arena or put a lot of money into an arena or something? Like somewhat recently, and I should know this being a New York kid, but hey, there's all those guys, because then every other team over there, your Boston Bruins, your Montreal Canadiens, your Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs, your Pittsburgh, your Philadelphia, those guys are not moving. Carolina, the 2 Florida teams are not moving. Like those are already pretty established franchises, whereas like Arizona is like a joke of a team almost. Maybe other than that, I couldn't really see anybody else moving, right? They all have too much history to just move on to some place that has, I don't know if they've ever had hockey. But, that's just the big question throughout this all process. Like, what do you guys think? Should there be another expansion team? Because it then would create 33 teams in total. It would throw it all kind of off whack. They'd be in either the Pacific or the Central Division, so a definite Western Conference team. And then what do you do after that? Do you add a team that's right now in the Central Division over to the East? Do you just keep it so there's just one extra team in the West somewhere? And I just don't think it's a good idea, because then you'd almost have to talk about playoffs, and should we just have the number 1 seed, or whoever has the most points or something, do they get a bye? Or then you have so many different questions to add on to it. And in my personal opinion, NHL has the best possible playoff format, right? Continuous overtime, best of 7s. You go whoever is has the home ice advantage. You have 2 games at home. You play 2 away. You're back home for Game 5 if needed. You're away for Game 6 if needed. And you're back home for Game 7 if needed. So, in my opinion, 32 teams is where any league should stop. Especially if they have a playoff system where you eventually crown a winner with a championship, with a playoffs and everything. 32 is where you should stop. Now, this is where I'd love to hear your guys' comments down in the comment section below. Should the NHL expand again, regardless of how cool the branding would be, or since it's a new market or whatever, should they expand? No matter where it is, should they expand more? If Salt Lake City does become a popular, place to have a hockey team, then do you see somebody build a brand new franchise there? Do you see anybody relocate out there? What do you see happening? Let me know down below. But that's all I got for you guys today. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below. Don't forget, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Comment below down in the comment section. I'd love to hear you guys' all of your thoughts, comments, your predictions if you want to go that far, and all that down in the comment section. But if you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.